Welcome to Alaska Weather, a production of Alaska Public Media and the National Weather Service, Alaska Region. Produced and broadcast daily from the studios of KAKM, Alaska Weather provides complete forecasts, public, marine, and aviation for all of Alaska. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
When shopping for your family's meals, do you know where you can find Alaska-grown products? Everywhere. They're available at your local grocery stores and farmers markets across the state. Alaska-grown products are fresher and more nutritious, and buying local helps grow our economy. So just look for the Alaska-grown label when you shop, or ask your grocer where the Alaska-grown products are. Remember, Alaska-grown. It's closer, fresher, better.
And it's all Alaska-grown.
The National Weather Service.
Hello again and welcome to this Thursday's show. On the advisory chart here, still that flood advisory out for the Dehne River through tomorrow evening. Also some high water on the Chilitna there near Talkeetna, but this advisory specifically for the Dehne River, which is higher yet. And again, that's out through tomorrow evening, Friday evening. And onto the satellite imagery, big swath of moisture here in the form of clouds from the southwest up across Kodiak Island, right up into the southeast interior, spreading over into the Panhandle with rainfall at least making it over to Yakutat today, and then heavier rainfall back toward the North Gulf Coast and extending on down toward Kodiak Island, becoming more showery. Still a lot of clouds out here to the west, but rainfall not as persistent, but rain right up into the central eastern interior today. The whole thing slowly moving eastward and back out to the west. Another area of clouds, not quite as super saturated as this one was. Just some very light rain, drizzle, or fog with that here, kind of trying to approach the Pueblos, mainly back to the west. And some higher clouds to the north there across St. Lawrence Island and up through the Bering Strait. Not a bad day up through there, some variable clouds along the Arctic coast, but generally fog and IFR free in most areas. Otherwise down, or on the chart today, that frontal system pushing eastward roughly something like this here this afternoon, definitely moving eastward. Pretty heavy rainfall amounts again during the day today from late last night into the mid-afternoon today. Up to 2 inches of rain fell at Cordova, while Valdez had about 1 1/4 inches. Otherwise, areas across south central Alaska picking up anywhere from 1/4 inch to 2/3 of an inch of rain, with heavier amounts up toward the Alaska Ranger, Ruth Glacier, picking up over 1 inch of rain up in that area. Also in the Copper River Basin, fair amount of rain pushed into that area as well. Paxson, for example, picked up about 3/4 of an inch of rain, and a couple of thunderstorms starting to break out. A couple of strikes recorded there after I did the chart here over the Copper River Basin in the central areas there, and also a few strikes here back to the west and northwest of the Susitna Valley along the Alaska Range. Otherwise, rain showers on the decrease here out over the southwest part of the state. In fact, some clearing going on over the northeast Bristol Bay area. Some of that sliding into southern Cook Inlet late this afternoon, so temperatures down in this area were able to warm to near 70 degrees, especially around the King Salmon area, and a few breaks here, temperatures in the mid-60s back to the west. High pressure, light winds, Alaska Peninsula to the eastern Aleutians there, and maybe some light rain, very light rain there, reaching Adak, again in conjunction with this trough. Otherwise, half-mile visibility and fog out towards Shemya. Up to the north, enough gradient there. Those southwest winds kicked up pretty good in some areas there along the Arctic coast, mostly from about Wainwright down to Point Hope, with Point Lacey gusts of 25 miles an hour. Cape Lisburne earlier today had a gust of 40 miles an hour out of the south and southwest, and that was continuing into the late afternoon. And for tonight, the forecast is still a little breezy up in that area tonight, but light winds high pressure over the North Slope, Arctic coast areas there. So look for some areas of low clouds and fog to develop later tonight, possibly up there, especially on the east side under the high center. Also look for low clouds and fog to develop here over Cook Inlet on northward into the valleys there, probably creating some IFR again through the inlet and northward over south central Alaska later tonight as those showers continue to taper off, maybe some clearing, and also some clearing along the North Gulf Coast. This front pushes eastward and roughly gets to about this position late tonight, early tomorrow morning. So the main rain area will push into the northern areas this evening and then tend to slip southward tonight with scattered showers back to the west. Pretty dry here with high pressure in over the southwest interior. And this rain just grazing southern Kodiak Island there, maybe the Alaska Peninsula with that warm front. Otherwise, nothing going on over the southeast Bering Sea, and pretty good conditions up across the northwest valleys. Showers pretty numerous here, hanging on to the upper Tanana Valley, 40-mile country from Alaska Range probably on up to Eagle. Then it dries out to the north, and this low center out here really not doing much, not moving much at all. Some moisture starting to stream northward there, so look for some IFR to push northward with the drizzle and fog, possibly reaching the Yukon Delta coast, areas of fog through the Bering Strait. Otherwise, pushing ahead to tomorrow, we'll see that this low really cut off from the main flow aloft, the main jet stream there, and with a high pressure over the interior, really can't move much as weak as it is. So look for some IFR kind of weather. Rain, light rain, fog, drizzle for the Pribilofs with light winds on down to the central Aleutians. No big winds at all out here to the west over the western interior. Could get a little gusty tomorrow. Barren Islands, actually small craft advisories for northwesterlies at 25 knots through the Barrens. And that's about it. Less wind over Kamishak Bay. A little breezy there along Kodiak Island. Otherwise, look for a mostly sunny afternoon. After the morning low stuff should slowly clear out with this downsloping, more offshore wind flow with a high pressure back to the west, and the trough now off the coast in the Gulf of Alaska. So definitely starting out pretty cloudy, some areas of fog in the morning, becoming mostly sunny throughout the day and into the late afternoon there. Hopefully Kodiak Island, you may hang on to clouds depending on how much moisture stays to the south of this front. Depends on which computer output you look at. One of them keeps raining over at least the southern island tomorrow. And that same sort of pattern going on here over the southern southeast coast. Showers to the south, less of that to the north, improving conditions. But I'd hold on to a chance of rain over the southern panhandle tomorrow. So that'll keep temperatures down from what they were today after reaching the lower 70s. Anyway, by Saturday, that should be out of the area, and so you're looking mostly sunny there across the entire southeast coast. More north winds kicking up to about 30 knots, northern Link Canal in the forecast, with anywhere from 15 to 20, maybe 25 knots in channeled areas of the inside waters, and not too bad there along the coast. Another upper level system dropping southeastward, so that's going to keep the showers going. Scattered thunderstorms there over the eastern interior, again from about the Alaska Range, maybe all the way up to the southern slopes of the Brooks Range there, with some showers across the Tanana Valley, become quite scattered and isolated as you head west. Then sunshine here with continued high pressure right along the Yukon Delta coast, so a mostly sunny day Saturday. South central Alaska looking really good, 60s, mid-70s for the highs. Kodiak Island, west-northwest winds mean sunshine there. Even Bristol Bay, start picking up some clouds here over the Alaska Peninsula areas as south to north flow here drags some moisture northward. So that looks like IFR there for the areas Cold Bay, maybe on out to the eastern Aleutians, more so though for the central Aleutians. Otherwise, no big storms out there, just a lot of clouds. Some of those could kick off some precipitation, especially with this weak low out to the west, and then just some leftover moisture near the Pribilofs, and that's about it. Winds start to pick up again here as that front, or ahead of this front, associated with that big Arctic low up to the north there. And so those southerly winds actually here for the Chukchi Sea in the western Arctic coast, kicking up about 25 knots. Saturday and Saturday afternoon, with maybe some moisture showing up along the northwest coast and then just grazing the west side of the Arctic coastal areas. Temperatures this afternoon across the southeast coast, warmest down south there with a net at least 75 for the high today. Mid-afternoon temperatures 70 at Heidelberg, 71 at Cake. Otherwise, Juneau had 62, and about the same in Sitka. 60 in Yakutat, mid to upper 50s for the North Gulf Coast with Valdez at 55 degrees. McCarthy 51, Northway 57, 59 over at Fairbanks, and mid 50s to lower 60s here across Cook Inlet on up into the Sitna Valley areas. 59 down in Kodiak. Tanana 62 degrees this afternoon, and mid 60s there, Bettles and Fort Yukon. Not too bad up here on the north slope as well. Umiat up to 63, 61 at Nuiqsut, 42 over at Kaktovik, 52 at Barrow, 48 here at Point Hope with a 57 at Kotzebue. Otherwise 49 there at Nome, and a lot of 60s here over the central southwest interior areas and upper 50s along the coast. And out to the west, lower 50s for the Pribilofs and 50s here all along the Aleutians, 58 on Alaska in the warmer locations, and upper 50s, lower 60s for the Alaska Peninsula, 69 at King Salmon and 63 over at Iliamna. Lows for tonight, mid to upper 50s for the southeast coast and generally 50s, some areas slipping down to the upper 40s here. Southern Alaska, upper 40s, lower 50s through the north central interior, back down to the southwest coast. Then 40s to the north, Brooks Range, Seward Peninsula, on out to the Arctic coast. Otherwise 50s and 40s for the Aleutians and the Bering Sea. Highs for tomorrow in the mid to upper 50s out here to the west. Lower 60s to lower 70s for the peninsula into Bristol Bay. And Susitna Valley afternoon sunshine should push the temperatures up into the lower to mid 70s tomorrow afternoon. Even not too bad all the way down to the Kenai Peninsula, Seward, near 70 tomorrow, 60s for the Panhandle, and near 70 up in the upper Yukon Valley and the flats area there at Fort Yukon and the North Slope, 50s to near 70. And for flying weather tomorrow to start with, there's the IFR here, Susitna Valley, across Cook Inlet, portions of the Kenai Peninsula, and in over the southeast coast there. Kind of clipping Kodiak Island, some more here along the coast, up to the north, eastern Arctic coast, and big area out here to the west. By tomorrow afternoon, that all improves. VFR from the southwest coast into the Gulf of Alaska, northward to the Arctic coast, hang out on some marginal stuff over toward Barter Island. And then with that front and moisture mostly down to the south here, conditions improving throughout the day across the Panhandle. VFR Kodiak Island, marginal VFR out over the Bering Sea upset the Pribilofs. You'll be just into the IFR area northward to St. Lawrence Island. Anaktuvik, VFR tomorrow, same forecast for the Adigan Pass as well. Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. And for rainy, starting out marginal, improving to VFR, probably by late morning. And windy, same trend, marginal VFR improving to VFR at some point in the day tomorrow. And that forecast also good for the eastern Alaska range passes such as Isabel and Mentasta. And Tanita, IFR to start with, rapidly improving to VFR throughout the day. And Portage, same forecast, lowest conditions in the morning, better in the afternoon. Chilkoot and White, same forecast there. Got starting out IFR or maybe marginal VFR, becoming VFR. Again, probably before mid-morning. Freezing levels here, about 10,000 feet, St. Lawrence Island into northern Bristol Bay, eastward there to near Yakutat, gradually warming southward here toward the Dixon entrance area. Not much gradient, 8,000 feet there along and north of the Brooks Range areas. Otherwise, pretty warm with high pressure aloft out to the west there, 12 to 14,000 feet across the Bering Sea. And as far as icing goes, really none in the forecast tomorrow of any significance at all. So moving on to the jet stream, kind of a split flow here. We've got that strong area upper high pressure out to the west, right into the Russian Far East ahead of this big storm entering the northwestern Sea of Okhotsk over there. And then northerlies, northwesterlies, 40 to 70 knots coming mainly into the eastern Arctic coast. Still a trough through here, and that's going to kind of keep it showery and unsettled, especially over the central and southern southeast coast through tomorrow. Basically higher pressure aloft right through this area, extending up into the interior. 9,000 feet, ridge shows up better here, right through this area midday tomorrow. Northwesterlies 15 to 20, maybe as high as 25 knots across the southeast coast. Lighter over the inland areas, southwest 20 near Barrow, picking up about 25 knots here through the Bering Strait. And then northwesterlies, just 10 to 15 here over the western Aleutians. Pretty light winds, could see southerlies near the Pribilofs at about 20 knots, due to that low just to the west. And at 3,000 feet, same pattern here out over the Bering Sea, some ridging back to the west. Stronger ridging here in over the western interior, just 5 to 10 knots, 3,000 feet here over much of mainland Alaska. Kind of a stronger wind flow here coming up across St. Lawrence Island and the Bering Strait, catching the western Arctic coast once again. And westerlies from about, again, Barren Islands in across the Gulf of Alaska, then diving off to the southeast there. Could get southern Prince of Wales Island with 25 knot winds, otherwise lighter on up to the north. As far as turbulence goes, with that mechanical turbulence due to the north and northwest winds to westerly, east side of Kodiak Island, Fognak Island, into the Barrens, Kamishak Bay, light to isolated moderate, Kenai Peninsula, Prince William Sound, and possibly here over the northern southeast coast. That's kind of a stretch though, all below about 4,000 feet. And after the break of Stargazer, I'll be back with the ice edge in the marine forecasts.
Mars, Antares, the Sting, and more. Hey there, stargazers. I'm Dean Regas, astronomer for the Cincinnati Observatory.
And I'm James Albury, director of the Kika Silva Pla Planetarium in Gainesville, Florida. We're here to help you find your way around the sky tonight. As summer starts heading to fall, the summer stars start fading away.
But we have a week or two to take in my favorite constellation of summer, Scorpius the Scorpion, with its flickering red heart star and 2 stinger stars.
Plus, the red planet Mars will be hanging with the Scorpion.
And we have a bonus planet for you to look for. Should we tell them which one?
No, let's build up the suspense.
My thoughts exactly. To the stars. Okay, we have our sky set to any night this week at 9:30 p.m. facing south. To find the Scorpion, look just above the horizon for stars that form a fishhook shape. It's a little tougher to see the distinct outline of the constellation since there are 2 visiting planets among the normal stars of the Scorpion. But be patient, we'll get to those soon enough.
It may be tough to imagine these stars as a scuttling scorpion, but hopefully the picture helps. When I look for Scorpius, the first thing I notice is the really red, really twinkly star at the heart of the Scorpion. This star is called Antares.
If we zoom in on Antares with a large telescope, we find that it is not just one star, but 2 orbiting each other. The larger one is the red star we see with the naked eye. The smaller is of a contrasting color, and most people think it looks green, but you'll need a big telescope to see it.
And that's because the main star, Antares, is gigantic and dazzlingly bright. If we put Antares next to the sun, this is what they'd look like.
Yikes! The brightest star-like object in Scorpius right now isn't a star, it's the planet Mars, and you can see it just above the Scorpion's heart star above Antares this week.
The word Antares means rival of Mars, but this week, Antares is no match for Mars when it comes to brightness. The red planet will look about twice as bright as the red star.
And you'll notice one other difference. While Antares will twinkle, Mars's light will be much more steady. This is a general rule. Stars twinkle, planets don't, as much.
Now that we've investigated the heart of the Scorpion, how about his tail? At the end of the fishhook shape, look for 2 stars that are very close together. These are the stars Shaula and Lasath, and together they are known as the Sting.
Makes sense. Although these 2 stars look close together, they are separated by trillions and trillions of miles. Lasath, the dimmer of the pair, is about 580 light years from Earth. The distance to Shaula, however, is unknown. Some astronomers found it to be 700 light years away, and others found it to be only 365 light years away. Either way, the Stinger stars only look like they're close together.
I've also heard them called the cat's eyes since they are so distinct. And while you're in the area, 2 open clusters lie nearby for you to discover with only a pair of binoculars. They're called M6 and M7. And finally, we will reveal our mystery guest planet for today's show.
The anticipation has been killing me.
Uh-huh. And when you look above Antares and above Mars, you'll see another bright, steady light.
So steady, it must be a planet. But which one? Let's pretend we're focusing a telescope and getting a clearer look. This is the 6th planet from the Sun, the 2nd largest planet in the solar system, keeper of at least 62 moons, gorgeous rings, and well, I think you figured it out.
This is Saturn. And if you have not seen it through a telescope, make it your mission to do so this month. Check with your local astronomy club, planetarium, or science center and ask, hey, are you guys viewing Saturn this season? And make an appointment to see it.
It is truly breathtaking, and it's all there when you keep looking up.
Well, today's sea ice analysis has the coast clear. In fact, ways to the north out this way, but back off the northwest coast here. And with those winds coming in to southwest, it looks like this area will push off to the northeast over the next few days. And for the marine forecast, westerlies 20 knots to the north coast, turning northwest with small craft advisories for the remainder of the coastline out of the northwest and then west. Light northwesterlies here, or variable to northwest, 10 to 15 knots for the inside waters. Then for Lynn Canal, northerlies pick up to 30 knots on Saturday, 6-foot sea, so pretty stiff wind coming in there, north to northwest at 20 or so, with a few higher gusts there with 4-foot seas. And then out along the coast here, northerlies at 20 knots, a little lighter there in the extreme south coast. And for Cook Inlet tomorrow, variable winds at 10, northwest 15, Prince William Sound, northwesterlies 15 to 20 for the North Gulf Coast, and northwest at about 20 for the Barren Islands, could be up to 25, and then dropping back to 15 in Kamishak Bay. Pretty light winds coming across Kodiak Island. And then for Saturday, west 20 here along the east side of Kodiak Island with small craft advisories for the Barrens, northwest 25. But lighter, more variable winds for the North Gulf Coast and Prince William Sound. Cook Inlet, north to northeast or variable to northeast. Really light, 10 knots or less, 2 to 3 foot seas. Northwest at 10 for Bristol Bay. Otherwise, light variable winds for the Alaska Peninsula all the way up there to Sitkinak. And for the Saturday outlook, not a lot of change here. These become west from Sitkinak to Castle Cape and pick up to only about 15 knots. 6-foot seas here on the Pacific side, variable to northwest at 10 knots, so staying quite light, 2 to 4 foot seas there in the Bering Sea side. And for the eastern Aleutians, south to southeast, pretty light, 10 knots, 5-foot seas. And kind of a southerly direction here for the central Aleutians, more or less, and then pretty light winds on out to Shemya. And then for Saturday, still really light winds here. Adak on out to Kiska, just 5 knots, variable direction, 4-foot seas, maybe northwest at 10 there towards Shemya. Northeasterlies, 10 to 15 knots for the central Aleutians. Southeast, 10 to 15 for the Fox Islands. Along the southwest coast, southerlies 10 to 15 knots. Same thing for St. Lawrence Island. Southeast 15 there for St. Matthew Marine Zone and the Pribilofs. Southerlies at about 20 knots with those seas up to 8 feet, which puts it in the small craft advisory category here for both the Pribilofs here in the northern Bering Sea. Then for Saturday, those winds really drop off. Southeast 10 variable all along the coast here at 10 knots, 3 to 4 foot seas, southeast 15, St. Matthew Island, and to the west, with southerlies at about 15 now for St. Lawrence Island. Really no change at all from tomorrow. And for the Arctic coast here, pretty light winds on the east side, variable to southwest, but those southwesterlies pick up to 20 knots on the central coast and then become southerly from Cape Beaufort down to the Bering Strait. And the outlook for Saturday, small craft advisories, again with that front approaching slowly from the west there. That should kick the winds up from the Bering Strait northward to Cape Beaufort, and even small craft advisories on up the coastline there, dropping back to about 15 for the central coast, and east to southeast 15 knots there on the east side with 3 foot seas. And for tonight again, this front slipping on down to the southeast there, and showers already really scattering out, becoming quite isolated, but low clouds and fog forming over Cook Inlet into the Susitna Matanuska valleys. Showers lingering more so up over the eastern interior there, especially from Eagle down to Northway. And it should stay mostly clear here. Northeast Bristol Bay, high pressure, light winds, dry conditions, variable clouds out to the west. Lingering moisture here along the coast due to this system here, some of that breaking off, but nothing heavy at all. And very weak trough could bring a few sprinkles into Adak Island. That system continues to weaken, doesn't move at all for Friday. High pressuring over the interior. Morning low clouds and fog here to start the day out, but that will move out smoother than anything silk by tomorrow afternoon for mostly sunny skies, warmer temperatures. A little bit of moisture up through here, keeping it a little cooler, back into the sunshine to the north, and improving conditions, staying kind of unsettled over the southern southeast coast. And for Saturday, mostly sunny there across the entire area. North Gulf Coast, western interior, upper level trough brings some scattered thunderstorms into the eastern interior. Thanks for joining us.
These forecasts are to be used for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating. Alaska Weather is made possible by the following sponsors.
The National Weather Service.
Sometimes the best way to find a living is to stay right where you are and study with UAS online. Career-specific distance programs from the University of Alaska Southeast are the fastest way to increase your earning power.
We connect all over the world.